Hey, welcome back to the Class Winners Workshop. I'm Class Winners Car Guy in Chief, Sam Baer, and today we're standing next to this pretty cool 1986 BMW 535. This is an E28 series, and it is a perfect case study for what is our topic today: the do's and don'ts and mistakes that people make when they try to sell their collector vehicles, or really any vehicles for that matter, themselves on places like Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, OfferUp. So we're going to get into really what you should be doing and how you should be doing it. In the case of this cool BMW Luxo Cruiser, the customers tried to sell it themselves, but ran into some common pitfalls, and they saw interest was kind of lacking. So they turned to professionals. So we see there's some common mistakes that were made. One, there are not a lot of pictures, if any, that really show the whole car from different angles. And that's a necessity. Two, it doesn't list the major things that have been done to this car recently. And in this case, well, it's had about $13,000 worth of work in the last 3 years, including lower end work, rod bearings, main bearings, door and windows all worked out so that the windows go up and down, and their dashboard's been repaired. I mean, it's amazing how much mechanical and other work has gone into this car that's not presented in the ad. In fact, more work has been done to this car in terms of cost spent than the car is worth. So someone's going to get a bargain. Additionally, when they took those pictures, well, in not doing any spruce up, it makes it look more dingy than it actually is. And I always put it this way: you would never just have your bridal party roll out of bed the morning after the bachelor and bachelorette party to have the pictures taken. When successfully listing a car for sale, there are three categories at play. The first one is product. That's what you're selling. The second one is price. The third is presentation. So let's talk about the first and most important category: product. That's what you have. That's what people are going to buy. So in this case, it's a 1986 BMW 535i sedan. So a 5 Series from that era, not particularly desirable because it was the mid-range sedan, and generally sedans are less valuable than two-doors and convertibles. But this does have the larger engine option because it's a 535, not a 525, and it does have a 5-speed manual instead of an automatic. So that actually makes it more desirable. So those are things we'd want to point out in the ad. So once you've established what your car is in terms of year, make, model, mileage, condition, important options, then it's time to actually go to the second category: price. Now, as a car appraiser and a collector car dealer who does this professionally, I can tell you that about 90 to 95% at any given time of people who list their vehicles themselves are wildly overvaluing their car. If you have a vehicle and you decide that you're going to price it by looking at everybody else's ad for their similar vehicle, that's not a determination of an accurate price point, because those other ads on Craigslist or eBay or Facebook Marketplace could all be based upon the same wildly inaccurate base point. So those are asking prices. Those are not selling prices. If you want to price your car accurately, put the year, make, and model into something like Bring a Trailer and look for the vehicles which have actually sold on the auction site, and then compare what your car is compared to theirs. Now remember, a car is only valued what people are willing to pay for it. It does not matter how much money you have put into a vehicle. For instance, this car was repainted and it's had well over $10,000 in engine work in the last 3 years. It's not worth what the owner has put into it. The part of selling a car yourself that provides the most anxiety for most individual sellers, and the questions that I get the most about is this: Sam, should I do blank to my car before I sell it? And the questions have ranged from getting a dent fixed, to repainting a vehicle, to having an engine rebuild or a carb rebuild, or redoing the interior. And the concept is simple, which is never do something for which the return will be smaller than the initial cost. In practice, that can often be a hard thing to do, and that's the difference between dealing with a professional and doing it yourself. In general, small things can actually pay pretty good dividends. Like in this car, there were free things that could have been done, like putting the speakers back into the lower kick panel so there aren't just gaping holes there, or putting the shifter boot, snapping it in place so it didn't look like it was just flopping around. And so now we get into the hard work, and that is the third category, presentation. So actually, presentation can be cut into two different subcategories. The first one is how you prepare the car. The second one is how you take pictures and what you say in the ad listing itself. But the hardest work is in the first part. So if you do not have a very clean, very detailed car when you're ready to sell it, you got to go through the detailing process to some level, because if somebody comes and sees a car that's parked outside with a bunch of pine needles in it, dirty carpets, they're going to assume that this car wasn't taken care of. So in this case, the car was well taken care of, but for a while it was left outside, and so it had those leaves and pine needles. So the first thing we did here is get it clean. And what does that mean? Well, we took it outside, we washed it, head to toe, front to back, and got all those pine needles out. Then we brought it inside and we used detailer's clay and to take off all those embedded contaminants, the sap, and things that you can feel when you rub your hand over an already washed car body panel. Then we detailed the interior, treated the leather, vacuumed the floors. And then the engine bay still looked a little schlubby. So a little bit of detailing made it look so much better. All in all, 4 hours of work at the most. You're going to want to take some pictures of the car. I mean, complete pictures, front, back, top, both sides, interior, engine bay, trunk, the whole shebang. Using an iPhone or an Android phone, absolutely fine. But make sure you get the shots that people need to see. If you have the opportunity, get some video of you driving the car. Because a renting car, well, it's worth a lot more than one that's sitting dead in a driveway. Especially if it's a fun driving one like this 535. And finally, you got to come up with the words, the description of what you're selling. Now, I always call this the Goldilocks concept, because too little and people aren't going to get a feeling of what you're selling. Too much, well, let's face it, most people don't like to read, and they're not going to look at everything you tell them. So be complete, be concise. Bullet points are your friend. So, in the listing, make, model, year, mileage, condition, important options, what important service has been done. If it's a car that needs to have its timing belt done, when was the last time the timing belt was done? If it is a car that is susceptible to rust, where's the rust? If the car has been significantly hit and repaired, you need to disclose that. Now, you don't need to give all of the details and stories and write in paragraphs. Just keep it brief. Then make sure you give people a way of contacting you. And remember, some places like Facebook Marketplace will remove your email address, your telephone number, won't let you link to other URLs in the actual listing. So after you're done uploading your content, actually check out and view the listing yourself to make sure everything you put in there is still in there. And then be ready to answer questions. From the Class Winners Workshop, I'm Car Guy in Chief Sam Baer, reminding you that life's too short for ordinary cars, and life is too short for not selling your vehicle in the way that professionals do it.